Hey, First Mates, and welcome to our Shore Things breakout session. My name is John Diorio, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to Alex Zeitz, our Senior Manager of Sailor Experiences. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with everyone. It's so cool.
This is really cool. And I thought we'd just kind of kick this off and kind of give me a little bit of your background in the industry and really what does Senior Manager of Sailor Experiences mean at Virgin Voyages?
Yeah. So before charting course with Virgin Voyages, I was actually with the global leader in entertainment and family experiences. And I kind of worked on the overall development, implementation, and management of the service program. So VIP, premium experiences, fulfillment for marketing and PR events, wedding planning and development, as well as being the liaison between our international travel industry friends, or as we say, our first mate family. So I kind of have a soft spot for them, if you will.
Right.
And as part of my gig at Virgin, I really have everything on shore experiences. So everything from the call flow to port selection, shore things as we're chatting about today, to the beach club at Bimini, as well as even dipping into being part of the team that's developing our new terminal here in
Oh,
Miami.
very nice, very nice. Well, so with Virgin, we obviously do things very differently. And that first thing was, we thought about shore excursions. And we were creating this amazing experience on board our ships. But there are amazing things our sailors can do when we pull into port. What was
Yeah.
we obviously call our shore excursions shore things, but take us back. What was the kind of the strategy in developing something very Virgin like when it came to our Shore Things experiences?
Yeah, so I think, I work with a great team. Some of you have met Juan and Natasha in some other sessions that we've done, as well as Lena and Alexandrina. But we've gone through and we really always settle ourselves on two things. Are these experiences, that are going to change your view of the world? And also, are they going to ignite the spirit within, right? Are they going to get you going? Are they going to
Right.
make you connected? Those are the types of things that we're really going after. And when I get presented from all the team's hard work of, are we going to do this? What do you think about that? Should we take a look into this? I always ask myself those two questions. And if it kind of ticks those questions off, and I'm like, yeah, this is it. And let's go see it. Let's dive a little deeper into it and really understand. I think also just kind of taking inspiration from the world of curated travel experiences. I think there's a unique niche out there, and coming from my background, from what I used to do, working with small groups, of 5 to 10 people, and how we can really scale that to our max 20 at Virgin Voyages. That's kind of really the three big things that have been part of the high level strategy.
That's great. That's great. And we as you heard Ryan speak about earlier this morning, there's a lot of research that goes into everything that we do.
Yeah.
How did we leverage the research from consumers and first mates when kind of coming up with our shore things?
Yeah. So I think one of the things we heard from both audiences, from the research that Ryan referenced and even more additional stuff, was that sailors, and especially first mates, right? Because again, we are all in a business. We want to create experiences, but we also want to make sure we are doing ones that are desirable. And we talked about that while we're in port, we want to make sure that the experiences that we're offering are only available if you select them through Virgin Voyages. So things like that we really thought through. The not really being in mass, right? I
Right.
know for myself, I don't like we're putting a sticker on and following the flag and wearing an ear, the whisper devices or something to listen in. I want to be part of something that's natural, that's connected. Put the impersonal stuff to the side and really kind of come together with everything. We always also heard that people want authentic, right? I mean, we are in the era of social media and Instagram and other different things, but those things are kind of there because people want to connect to things, people want to see things, people want to peer into something. And for me, a lot of that comes when you have something surprisingly authentic. And just getting into with the real locals. It's almost like if you were to come visit me in Miami, right? I
Right.
know you're on the other coast, and what would you want to see? What would I want to show you? We're friends. That's how it should feel. And I think about like in Palma de Mallorca, there's a gentleman by name Don Raimundo, how he took us through the vineyard in his yard, or Lily in Tulum, how she took us through a cooking class, or even Juanito in Malaga, right? Like those three people just come to life, and how we have it, we've really focused on trying to find the right connection with those people, so much so that I can remember their names, right? That
Right.
like the experience was really cool, but also just thinking about their names and who they are made that. And I almost feel like they're kind of like an extension of my travel journey. We also really heard from just those who know Virgin that we need to connect to empowering entrepreneurs, right? So how can we come into these communities? Bimini, for example, previous to us coming, there really hasn't been any large scale cruise experience there. So how do we connect with those locals? How do we bring their business to our sailors, and in turn then offer our sailors something unique and different?
Yeah.
We held town halls in Bimini to really go out and understand, say, this is what we're looking for. This is what our sailors going to be. And how can you help us provide those things? So we took a different approach. And I think we've always kind of said it, is straying the course, right? Creating experiences that are kind of off the beaten path. When we did our research in Key West, we just kind of went on adventures and went through the streets and kind of saw this building. And we said, you know what? This looks like they might be in connection with us. The brand feels similar. Let's head on in and chat with them. And they're like, well, we don't do cruise lines. And we're like, perfect. So that's exactly why I'm going to want to talk to you. How can we really get this going and really get some creative stuff that's just really impressive?
Well, that's great. That's great. Well, obviously, with Scarlet Lady being based out of Miami
Mm-hmm.
and obviously doing Caribbean sands, talk a little bit about the ports we're actually traveling to for Scarlet.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many amazing ports, right? Departing, down to Key West, right? Some people say, the distance isn't that far, but it's actually, there's that one lane road that goes down from Florida. So most people either, the cruise ship or voyaging there is one of the better ways. Obviously, Cozumel and our connection to, Tulum from there, as well as Playa del Carmen on the other side, and how we're navigating that and looking at that differently. Costa Maya, Puerto Rico, obviously going to San Juan, and Dominican Republic, just a lot of unique different things. And I think what we've also done is just each place we've tried to hero something that connects to
Right.
as I said, what's local. And then obviously the gem of all of our itineraries is really the beach club at Bimini. So for me, that's kind of one that it weaves through everything, and it kind of highlights that relaxation and chill. But there's a lot of different opportunities and things we've done in the Caribbean.
Yeah, well, Bimini, has been very well received by all of our first mates, especially as they look at those itineraries. It's on every itinerary. And obviously, depending on if you're on our 4 or 5 night, it depends if you're there till 10 o'clock or midnight, which is great. But talk to us a little bit more about Bimini. I think, like you said, there hasn't been a lot of large cruise lines coming to Bimini. Can you talk a little bit about what Bimini is like, what the beach club is, that vibe of the beach club that we're trying to create? And then, it's not just about the beach club in Bimini. There are
Right.
also some great shore things that our sailors can experience.
Yeah. So I think what I just starting it for me is what I love that it isn't a private island experience, right?
Right.
We're going in, we're having this unique experience where we're able to do shore things that are out and about, authentic, connected. But then we have that getaway, which is the beach club at Bimini. So I think there's that flexibility at a high level. To me, one of the things that I love and I would encourage sailors to connect to is just the beautiful waters that are there, the pristine nature, and how we're interacting with it, right? Hop on a paddleboard, go out, or get some of the snorkels, right? Snorkel equipment that's available, to just kind of explore and see what's there. Especially, I grew up in Chicago, so I think about for me when I went on vacations and getting out and seeing these beautiful waters. That's some of the stuff that I would connect to. Also, just exploring the land, right? We have one of our tours is called the Heritage and Culture Tour, and it's Bimini's modest version of a hop on hop off, but only 10 to 15 seats on this electric tram. That's great for the environment because again they care about where they are and what that means. Or sailors who are a little more adventurous that want to go on their own. We're looking at how we can. There's not a lot of vehicles on the island, which is great, but there are some golf cart options. So how do we connect to those? So we're looking at how we can facilitate that so that first mates can take care of that for their sailors ahead of time, and that's arranged. So that's something that's on our radar. But I think that's kind of like the water element as well as the land base. But then when you go to really the beach club Bimini, to me, it's just a fantastic location, right? It's a quick ride away that we've arranged for the sailors to get them to the beach club. and it's on a long stretch of just white sand framed by the crystal blue waters. And for me, that's what it's about. It's you walk in through the club. Because I've had the opportunity to kind of go through the whole construction phase, and just the way you kind of step up the 5 to 6 steps to come in, it kind of makes that reveal moment. Because
Right.
before that, you really don't get that view of the ocean. You get dropped off, you step up, and you come in, and then it's kind of like you have the whole lay of the land. On the right and the left, you have the 2 lagoon pools, and you have that salty air and that warm Bahamian sun. For me, those things kind of just all bring it together. And we always talk about the modern romance of sailing meets island life. Or it's kind of like that beach, that barefoot luxury. And I think Richard's kind of always told us that he wants people to really be able to relax, while being well looked after.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of those places that we can really bring that to life.
Well, you're painting an amazing picture.
And to me, our inspiration kind of comes from like the gems in the Mediterranean, like Mallorca, or Holbox, which
Yeah.
is kind of like Tulum's, grounded, kind of charming, real neighbor. So I think that's kind of where it all comes together.
That's great. So, I mean, I think you've got one of the best jobs in our company of being able to, obviously with your talent and expertise, bring these things to life for us, but finding those amazing, authentic experiences. So you've seen a lot of them.
Hmm.
Focusing on the Caribbean for
Yeah.
now. What have been some of the Alex top two, top three shore things that we have going on?
Yeah. So I kind of mentioned her name earlier, Lily. It's a Mexican cooking experience, and of course, you throw in a little mezcal and to kind of get kind of allow everyone to have that relaxation and getting in that mode to start cooking.
Yeah.
But when I first read our option, she was like, "Yeah, well, come to my house and we'll make quesadillas." And I'm like, "Okay, I can make a quesadilla on my own. I really don't, you know." And you walk in, and the first thing you do is she sits you down and she offers you a cold beverage, whatever that may be, for whatever you choose to do. You sit on her porch and she pulls out a map of Mexico. And it's not like this super polished map, but it's a map of Mexico that she's shared with her children. And it has some journey around it, right? And she tells you why certain things happen in certain places. And I won't give it away because then you
No.
won't go and do it. But I walked away with some key learnings on why certain things and why certain culinary things happen in certain regions of Mexico. And then she invites you into her home and she's like, "Perfect, we're going to make the tortillas." And I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" She's like, "Yes, so here's this corn and I need you to go over the grind over there and you're going to make the masa." And you're like so proud. You're like, "I did it once." She's like, "Now take it again and put it through 2 more times. And then maybe we'll pat it out and we'll take it out to the back and put it on the flame grill." And you just go through all these steps and you're part of the family, right? It's her daughter-in-law, and her son helps out with creating the fire to cook with and all those different
Right.
things. So that's one that I really love. Another one in Key West. Actually, there's two. There's one called Hook and Cook, which it isn't published yet, but also a little sneak peek. But it is coming. So the sailors, a small group of sailors, will go out on a fishing charter. Catch whatever is in season and it's appropriate to catch. On their way back, whether you're the type that maybe wants to sip a glass of wine and watch someone fillet the fish, or learn how to fillet your fish because you want to make sure you learn how to do that skill, we'll assist with that. And as soon as that vessel comes back to the port, the chef will be standing there, and the sailors will walk 3 blocks up the street to a new test kitchen that's just being finished, being built inside a former church on that second level, so you would never know it's there.
Right.
Sailors walk up there and they then cook that item, and then they get to have it as part of their thing. So to me, it's that whole going out, learning how to do it, seeing it, catching what's appropriate to catch, and learning something from a culinary perspective.
That's incredible. That's absolutely amazing. Well, so obviously, I want to pivot from Scarlet Lady in the Caribbean to Valiant Lady and the Mediterranean. So
Yeah.
obviously, with Valiant Lady, she's setting sail next summer. Talk a little bit about what you're doing with the shore excursions or shore things there. Obviously, we have a lot more ports we're going into.
Yeah.
Expand a little bit on that. Like, what are you seeing? What are those ports we're going to? What are those great experiences we're creating?
Yeah, so the team and I've worked together to kind of, again, going after, and I've said this to some of my first mate friends as well. It's like we've tried to create things that if the first mate spends that time connecting with their sailor, we'll have some sort of short thing that is almost niche like for that person. So that's something, and I think that also helps them out in the future, so that when they know they get to understand further what their sailor likes, that they can then offer more experiences with us and connect. So I think that's kind of one of the things I see coming to even more to life in Europe, because the fact that the Mediterranean, with the almost 13 ports that we have, including our transatlantics, there's a lot going on. But I think some of my two favorites, and maybe it's because I'm missing the Mediterranean and seeing these gorgeous pictures of the waters, but Olbia in Sardinia. with the Costa Esmeralda, which is like the beautiful water of the Mediterranean. There's just so many different activities, from someone who's looking to connect to some designer clothing and kind of bespoke made things in Porto Cervo, to private beaches, to some cool beach clubs like Fee Beach, where for those who kind of want to have that energy of the, what connects to the Mediterranean lifestyle, the yachts there and the helicopter lands and someone gets out and has that, or someone who really wants to tap into history, right? The neurologic architecture there, there's Bronze Age stuff that Iron Age, excuse me, stuff that's just there, it's available. And some of it's even part of, some wine tastings, right? So you're like on this, beautiful vineyard, we also have this neurological thing that, you go and you get to experience and see. And then of course, like wineries like Capiquera, where you taste this beautiful wine. And there's also hiking and biking. So again, trying to show that, like, depending on what you want to do, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
And I think my second favorite, or maybe not in order, just another one to bring to light, is Palma de Mallorca. Because I always say if I did win the lottery, that's probably where I'd move to. We have some private lunches in the Residencia, which was once the former part of Richard Branson's collection of properties. So kind of that connection to the brand. Or trekking the countryside. It was really cool. You go on a tricycle, basically. It's like a motorcycle that's been converted into two-seater. And you just have that helmet on, and it's the only thing between you and the whole world, right? So you have that 360 view. You look around. My colleague and I love to repeat this one. We finished the tour, and she said, Alex, I want a candle of the fragrance of the forest we just drove through. I'm like, exactly, right? And that's what you get by having those different types of experiences that aren't just on a bus or in a car. Private wine tastings, I talked about Don Raimundo. He invites you to his family estate, where he, we kind of talk through what the tour would be like. And he's like, well, I kind of would, here's the tasting room. He's like, but I would love to take a group out to my backyard and just sit under the portico and chat about these things. I'm like, that's what we want. He's like, no more cruise lines don't tell us that. I'm like, no, but I want you to do what you think will be amazing. And, we went through and we had our wine tastings, and he kind of noticed that I gravitated to a white wine and my friend gravitated to, a rosé. And he's like, okay, well, let's switch it up, because I can obviously tell that your tastes are these. And I'm like, that's the type of stuff that we're looking for, that's
very
coming
authentic.
forward. And yeah.
And so, for our first mates, we haven't shown them a lot of what's coming for our shore things for Valiant Lady. Do we have an estimated timeline and when we might start to at least unveil the product itself for them to at least share with their sailors?
Yeah, so the current timeline is like Q4 or late Q4, around the December timeline is what we're currently looking at to share these.
Great.
So then at least that appetite will get there, so people can kind of understand further what's out there.
That's fantastic. I know our first mates are very eager to get their hands on that information and share it. We also have going on right now sustainability breakout session, but sustainability plays a big part in everything we do as a company. How are we incorporating sustainability as we thought about our strategy for Shore Things?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the key tenets of it, right? I think it's twofold. One, because it's who we are as a brand; it's part of our DNA. And two, some of these places that we are interacting with might not have been exposed or asked or pushed to go to this level. So it's really exciting that we want to do that, and we're going to do that. So sustainable and responsible tourism is just it's kind of at the core of who we are, right? We want to make sure that it's not just as in the environmental side, which is very important to us, but it's also in the cultural heritage preservation. And like I said, in the environmental connection. So it's kind of like, how do we do that in both ways? Because cultural heritage is so important for the future. Also, just animal welfare. We're not going to promote activities that feature captive animals for theatrical shows or contracting things. And we have our code of conduct that we're working with all of our vendors to sign. So it's just really important that they sign that and share the same principles and passions that we have, which is again leaving places better than we arrived to.
That's great. That's great. Well, I want to just, as a reminder for all the first mates that are watching this, obviously at the bottom of this video, we have a poll. We'd love for you to chime in and give us that feedback. There's also a link to our entire Caribbean Shore Things electronic brochure. This is a great link you can share with your sailors, just to give them an idea of what we are planning in all of our different ports in the Caribbean. Alex, thank you for joining us.
Of course.
When I hear you tell stories, I get mesmerized. Hopefully, when you win the lottery and go to Spain, I can still be your friend and you can
Of
invite me in
course,
for a
of
glass of
course.
wine. But thank you very much.
My
And
pleasure.
for our first mates, we'll see you on the next session.